We're live.
We are live
We're
for day
live.
2 of the D2 Online 2020. We are here in our little mini temporary studio in Vienna, which was put together pretty quickly. But
I'm kind
it's
of
really
liking
awesome,
this
yeah.
place, you know,
It's
like
great, yeah.
I'm really thinking we should make this our home for like all the future activities and everything, you know.
It would be nice.
From now on, we're gonna stream all of our shows from here. Jason, what did you think about the show from yesterday?
Yeah, aside from the small technical hiccups we had at the beginning, which I think seems like it always happens. I don't know, it's just something in the air.
It's the charm of
Yeah.
going live, right?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I thought it went pretty good. I'm really happy about how many people tuned in. It's amazing, really amazing to me. I really appreciate that too. So I overall super happy.
Yeah, I think it was the response was overwhelming. The fact that we had altogether more than 2,500 people. I mean, you know, our conference is what, 600 people that come and sit, 650 last year, and this year having 2,500 people watching the show was kind of overwhelming because I kept thinking about our venue and like imagining 5 times as much people.
Yeah, that place would be, that's too small actually. But that's the beauty of streaming it. The audience can be as large as we can handle.
So let me give a very quick look at the chat just to make sure that the audio is fine. I think that people are listening all right. Yeah, it seems like everything is smooth.
Nobody said they couldn't hear us yet.
Nobody's complaining yet, although we do expect people to complain at one point.
We want to know. We want to
We
know.
want
if
to
there's
know,
no sound.
exactly. What do you say? Should we just introduce the first speaker
Absolutely.
of tonight?
I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to let you do it
All
so
right.
I don't say anything beforehand.
Okay, so the gentleman that we have tonight opening the show is an award-winning designer. He came to Vienna last year to do a workshop organized by us, and some of the attendees considered this to be a life-changing experience. He is the founder of the design firm Blind and of The Future, an online learning platform from which a lot of us have learned a lot about the business side of design. We are happy to open today's show with the one and only Chris Doe. Chris, what's going on, my man? Everything okay?
Yes, I'm glad you guys worked out the tech issues, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we will have none of those issues today.
Yeah, I hope not.
Hopefully not. Chris,
Maybe my keynote will break. Who knows?
It's been a long time. We have missed you. I hope that you and your team are safe and sound.
We are. Thank you very much. I miss you guys as well.
Yeah, it was great having you here. It was really fun. We had such a great time.
And
So-
schnitzel, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Exactly. If you come to Fabio, you have to get the schnitzel. Chris, listen, you have prepared a nice presentation for us tonight. I'm just gonna give you the virtual stage, and we're gonna be here monitoring the chat, listening to you, and in case there are any questions, we're just gonna jump in and ask you. And also, I want to remind people from home, if they have any questions or if they want to have the chance to talk to you, they can send us an email. We're going to write in the comments where to send this email to, so that they can get a chance to have a 30 seconds face-to-face with you. Is that okay?
Beautiful. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And I encourage both you guys to interrupt me, to have a conversation. I don't want to make this presentation so formal, to embrace the fact that we are talking from home to each other in our respective studios. So maybe it could be more intimate.
All right.
Okay, we'll do that.
Okay.
So if you
All
go
right,
ahead and
so-
share your screen, and then we'll have it set up.
Yeah, I'm ready to go. So this is what it is. So these are strange times that we're living in, and nothing is what it used to be, right? So famous jazz musician Ella Fitzgerald, things ain't what they used to be. And I've been thinking a lot about this, about how to prosper in these uncertain times. I'm getting messages from all over the place about people not having work for weeks, months. They were recently laid off, and they're full of despair. And you don't have to look that far to kind of see what's going on. These are just some recent covers from very prominent magazines here in the United States. and you know what's behind all this COVID, the pandemic, what is going on. And it made me think about this idea, this definition of what a pessimist is. A pessimist looks for the difficulty or sees the difficulty in every opportunity. And that is kind of how we're looking at this right now. But I want to encourage you to kind of flip that lens to look for or see the opportunity in the difficulty. The new normal, as it's being referred to, means that we can't go out and be in large groups. And we have to maintain social distancing to prevent the spread of COVID. Naturally, there are travel restrictions. And then people are saying, well, we can't gather at work either. So everybody's being asked or forced to work from home. And this is creating all kinds of havoc and chaos in our lives. And it's disrupting everything. And so we're getting the sense that the economy and businesses are falling out of the skies. Everything is in a free fall state, and the economic situation does not look good. Some people are already talking recession, depression, and naturally then, as companies are going out of business, we're wondering, where have all the clients gone? What happened to all of them? And they are going out of business at a pretty rapid pace, or budgets are being frozen. And the natural tendency is for you to go after them and to call them up and to see if you could shake the trees and make something fall. But I'm here to tell you, don't do that. That's not going to be productive. And I'm reminded of what Peter Drucker said, that a business or businesses have only one valid purpose, which is to create a customer. And that sounds strange, to create a customer. How do you create a customer? Well, I'm going to tell you. You need to do two things. You have to innovate, and you have to become a problem seeker. So let's break those two things down. What does it mean to be innovative in these times? And I often refer to Marty Neumeier, who says, if you want to innovate, you have to design. And so in his book, The Designful Company, talks about how design is so much more than styling, that if we only look at things like I could design a poster or make a toaster, then we're relegated to living in the design ghetto. And we don't want to do that. So we need a new definition of design, a new understanding of what design is. And design, as defined by social scientist and Nobel laureate Herbert Simon, says anyone designs who devises a course of action to move from an existing situation to a preferred situation. That's what a design is. That's what it means to be a designer and to design. So to take a situation that we don't like, a current one that exists, and to look for one that we would rather have. And in times like this, there are plenty of opportunities, but let's just take a look back into the past and see where other companies have used design to move from an existing situation to preferred one. So here we are, Blockbuster. At one point, I was doing some research here about Blockbuster at its peak had 9,000 video rental stores. They employed 84,000 people with 65 million customers and was valued at a whopping $3 billion. And their main innovation back in the day was they had a huge selection, more so than other mom and pop video rental stores. And it's hard to believe this, but at one point they had over $800 million in a year in late fees. So their business model was for you to rent these videos at a high cost, and then when you forgot to return them on time, they would tag you with late fees. So this whole process of showing up to the store, looking for the titles, seeing if it's in stock, was actually super inconvenient. So what does a company do? A company like Netflix steps in and solves those two problems. Like, we'll get rid of the late fees. You can watch the movies and hold on to them for as long as you want. In fact, their early business model was for you to hold on to the videos for as long as you want, because that means they didn't have to ship you something new. So they didn't mind if you held on to that same video for months. They solved that very basic problem. And now Netflix, look at the difference in valuation, is valued at over $194 billion, more than Disney, which is hard to believe. They have 182 million subscribers, and 47% approval rate from Americans prefer to watch their video stream content on Netflix. And recently they picked up 2 Oscars. So this is pretty incredible. Another thing you can notice here is they're doing way more with with much less resources. They've only employed 8,600 people as compared to Blockbuster with 84,000. So here's another really boring company, boring space. And Gillette is the dominant standard for razors, right, in men. And they had $6 billion in sales and count 750 million men worldwide as customers, but their market share has been going down steadily since 2010. What's the problem with these razors? They're overpriced and it's inconvenient. You're noticing a theme here. When companies make it inconvenient for you to purchase their products or services, somebody will also step in. So then enters Dollar Shave Club with outrageous, irreverent marketing that grabs your attention, speaks to you. This is the CEO founder talking to you, not some hired actor. So they provided high quality, cheaper blades that were shipped to you on a subscription plan. They know that if you shave, you're going to need new blades, and so they want to make it easy for you. And consequently, after a few short years of running the company, sold for $1 billion to Unilever. Here's one more industry, and we'll talk about this one too. So the taxi industry, taxi service, had been considered a fabric of how modern cities move people around. So there's a ubiquity to it. You see those checkered cabs, you know what it is. So they've been down 75% in the last 10 years. So here are some of the issues they were facing. Basically, they charged you, the end user, for stop and go traffic. So if you're sitting in traffic, the meter keeps running. And they didn't provide any flexibility in terms of work hours for their employees, not their employees, cab drivers. And in many instances, as I've talked to many cab drivers in my lifetime, you can have the car and pay for the car and lose money by working a full day. So it made a lot of the cab drivers really kind of upset and not happy with their jobs. And that transferred it over to the energy to you. They weren't happy to see you. This is something they had boxed themselves into, and they were losing money on occasion. And because they were handling cash, it made them targets for robbery. Now, the founders of Uber was talking to, as legend has it, was talking to cab drivers and like, what's the problem? And they just discovered these same things. Like, I just want to be able to not work sometimes and go to my kid's birthday party or attend a recital. And I don't want to deal with cash. I don't want to get robbed. So Uber's like, okay, we'll solve those two problems. And now Uber recently went public and is valued at $72 billion. And they have transparent pricing. They offer a cheaper alternative, more flexibility there. And it's really convenient because you can see when the cars come and they'll pick you up anywhere in very little time. Okay, the next idea is that we often describe what we do as problem solvers. Like, raise your hand if you have ever been in that place where, like, I solve problems, I'm a problem solver. Well, I picked up this idea from Brian Collins, who says we have to move as a community away from being problem solvers, where we're waiting for somebody to give us a problem to solve, to becoming problem seekers. And oftentimes the problem we're given is incorrect, and we need to look for the real problem or the root problem. So the summary of that idea is find a problem worth solving and use that big, creative, beautiful brain of yours to spot patterns and make predictions. Like, what do people need or want right now? What aren't they getting? Who's ignoring them? And then make some educated guesses and try. So the way to phrase that is, what does the world need? And the world needs lots of things. So let's go find some problems. So let's bring the conversation back. The problems that we're dealing with today are social distancing, travel restrictions, and work from home. Those are just a few. So let's dig in a little deeper. And I like to use this framework. So if we say, if this is happening, then what else is happening? So what's the consequence of these things happening, and what's the relationship, and see if we can find the causal ties to these two events, right? So if we look at social distancing, travel restrictions, and work from home, we can see really easily, if we just look over a little bit, what businesses or industries or companies are going to be affected adversely, negatively. Well, we know that if you can't be around people, schools are going to be impacted. And we see that universities are shutting down and switching to virtual programs. Well, you can't travel as much or at all because of the restrictions. That means that hotels and tourism are going to be impacted, and people are no longer congregating at office spaces. So there's lots of vacancies there, and whole bunch of things happening within the commercial real estate world. And look at what's happening now. Fabio had said last year we were doing this in person. So conferences are impacted because large gatherings are not possible right now. So other industries, malls, theaters, sports and venues, concerts, amusement parks, TV and film production, even restaurants, they're all being impacted. And a lot of people are saying, well, COVID is creating this situation where it's driving companies out of business and we need to do something about it. And I don't believe that. I believe that COVID is accelerating businesses that were going to go out of business anyways. And this is a huge wake-up call. So I've compiled a list through a little bit of research about industries or companies that are going out of business or shutting down stores or doing massive layoffs or filing for bankruptcy. And I think this is going to help you guys find some problems. So in the retail space, the logic is if we're not going to the office space, we don't need office attire. So a lot of these high-end shops that sell suit jackets and ties, they're going to be in a little bit of trouble because you're not going to want to wear that at home just for yourself, probably. So places like Men's Warehouse, Brooks Brothers, Lord & Taylor, and so on and so forth, all these retail stores are going out of business. Now, they were having trouble before this, but the COVID situation just accelerated, like I said. And then we look at restaurants that are closing here in the United States, Soup Plantation, CPK, Wendy's, Chuck E. Cheese, go on, because they haven't figured out how to adapt to the situation. Soup Plantation is a place where you have a buffet. So buffets impacted by this. Obviously airlines. And then airlines are the main drivers, I think, to people renting cars. So Hertz is going out of business. And if you just examine Hertz, they buy a lot of cars. So when they go out of business, the automotive industry is going to be impacted. The used car market is going to be flooded because they're just storing cars, paying for cars that they can't make money off of. So all you have to do is keep looking at where the dominoes fall, and you're going to see a problem. And where there's a problem, I think there's an opportunity. So this is the last list of industries or businesses that are going out of business or are filing for bankruptcy and reorganizing. So of course, gyms like 24-Hour Fitness, Gold's Gym, and then the nutrients or supplement industry is being impacted because they're not consuming as much GNC, going out of business. Look in the entertainment, AMC, Cirque du Soleil, GameStop, and SeaWorld. So look for where the problems are. Okay, now this sounds really depressing. You're thinking to yourself, Chris, I doubt you're going to help us. Why are you just telling us what all the problems we already know? Well, here's how we start to flip it. So this is an exercise, I'm calling it the loss gain exercise. When something is gone, something will come to replace it. So if you start to think, now I know what the problem is, what we're losing, what's going to replace it? And there's this expression that nature abhors a vacuum, that vacuums are unnatural in the world. So let's flip this the opposite direction now. So if this happens, then what happens to replace it? Okay, so I just quickly went through this. If gyms are in decline because we can't gather and we don't want to be breathing that same air and touching all this gear that people are sweating all over, well, what industries are on the rise? What opportunities does this create? Well, people who make fitness equipment for the home, that's going to be on the up. And online coaching and social media accounts that focus on health and fitness for people to do at home, they're going to be on the rise. And if schools are in decline because people can't attend schools anymore, well, remote, distance-based e-learning and remote collaboration tools like the ones we're using today, like Zoom and Slack, they're going to be on the rise. This is a big one. This one's a huge impact. Because we don't have to commute to an office space anymore, well, what opportunities are here? Let's look at that then. Again, remote collaboration, why Zoom's stock shot up into the stratosphere, why Zoom is now a common household brand, which it wasn't pre-COVID. All the technologies that you need, the cameras and the microphones, and why adapters, HDMI to USB adapters have been sold out. Manufacturers can't make them fast enough. So if you're in the branding or brand building space or the UX UI space, you might want to reach out to some of these companies or start to steer your company or firm towards working with these kinds of people because their business is booming. And now because we're spending so much time at home, we're reconsidering things like our furniture and how we are going to create an environment that looks good, that sounds good on camera, because this is where we're going to be spending a lot of time. And of course, we want to beautify our home, so gardening supplies are on the up. Okay, restaurants. Again, if then. So groceries are up. Meal preparation and food delivery services like pizza restaurants are doing fantastic. Large restaurants who haven't been able to adapt, I'm pretty sure their margins were thin to begin with, and now they're all probably going to be driven out of business, which is sad for me. Okay, So don't take my word for it. I did a little bit more research, and I'm going to provide some analysis for you from ad tech company Taboola Newsroom, where they analyzed over 16 million page views on 1,000 sites. In the period of March to April, they found that this is what was trending. This is what people are reading and looking up. So you might want to screen capture this to kind of pay attention here. So home improvement up 140%, gardening and plumbing 245%. That means videos that teach you how to do gardening and plumbing, or articles that talk about this, up. Like how to snake a drain. Pet products, we're spending a lot more time with our pets now. We're adopting pets. So home beauty, 36%. Gaming, 145%. And look at this one. Fitness and health, up 2 million %. Okay, so I want to provide some examples of companies that are being innovative with design, found a problem, and they're now seeking problems to solve. So here they are, and then that's going to conclude my portion of the presentation, okay? The first two that I want to share with you are in the restaurant food bev category, and these are two fast casual restaurants that serve healthy food for people. The first one is from Tender Greens, and what they did in reaction to the shortage of food and the long lines at grocery stores was to take their buying power, their ability to get produce and fresh fruits and meat and ingredients, and they started selling boxes of food so that you can order those instead of plated food, which I thought was great. And they also have a sense of humor. For everybody that orders a box, they throw in a roll of toilet paper, thanks to the toilet paper hoarders that are out there. Next up, and I really love the way that Sweet Green tackles this, which is they started doing, contactless ordering and purchasing. They quickly ramped up their app. They made it super convenient. They would close their doors, and then you would go in through a door and pick it up yourself. And what I noticed from a design point of view, they would put these labels over the top of their containers saying this has followed a rigid set of standards for safe and healthy. You are rest assured that this is contagion free, or what. They didn't say things like that, but it was words that reassured me as a consumer that this was safe to eat and that they're maintaining proper health protocols. Here's another industry that's on a swing and kind of really capturing this moment of what's happening here. So on the left is an image of SoulCycle with a lot of hot and sweaty people in a very closed space, this kind of cult-like following that SoulCycle commands. And then on the right is Peloton. Peloton has been selling really well. They're moving a lot of units right now because people still want to exercise. But the innovation here is that they're doing kind of live stream virtual cycling coaching, which is really cool. So you have an athlete, instructor, or coach teaching you virtually so you can log in with your bike and train with them. So on the left is a conference. Of course, we can't do this anymore. And I really admire and love what Tony Robbins is doing on the right with his virtual conference, where he built, I think, using like a $10 million stage with a screen that you can see something like 5,000 people on a Zoom call at a time and cycle them out. So that's, to me, somebody who's found a problem, whose business has been impacted negatively and has found a way to design their way out of it. So now it's an approximation of being able to see everybody that he's used to seeing, and they're able to kind of feel that energy. And with all the crazy negative news that's out there, John Krasinski, with his Some Good News, hit 2.5 million subs in about 3 months' time and sold his program as a reaction to all the negative news that's out there. And he just wanted to do something positive to share a little ray of light, hope, and joy. And I love that he was able to do that. So I love this shot because here he is in his shorts in his living room, presumably, or his den. Excuse me. Okay, we're coming up on the end here. This is my friend Matthew Workman on the left, where production has been impacted because people can't be around in a lot of other human beings in closed spaces. So he's been working on this for some time. So he's laid the groundwork to do virtual cinematography. And I know the D2 audience specifically should be paying attention to this, because now using off-the-shelf products like VR gear, he's able to set up shots and frame things and do a lot while not having to involve other humans. I think that's super cool and innovative. Something you're going to want to look out for and see what he's doing. And then you think, okay, concerts. We can't gather in concerts. Look at this. This would be a nightmare right now. And then somebody told me about what they're doing in Europe and using drive-in theaters or parking lots to produce not virtual, like concerts. And this is amazing because look how far the cars are apart. And at the beginning it was a little awkward. They told everybody, you know, only have your driver's side window down so that your germs are not shooting right into your neighbor's car. And they were trying to figure out, like, how do we engage like the way we used to? And organically, people just started to figure out we're really smart as human beings. So, you know, when you feel a moment, you would hold up a lighter or hold up your phone and show the light, and they would turn on their lights and flash their high beams. And when there was a big moment, they would turn on the windshield wipers, and their hands or the wipers would move back and forth. And I thought, that's hilarious. And then they would use the windshield wiping fluid to shoot up in the air, just like kind of as a big climatic moment. And they could also watch and listen on Zoom because somebody else off stage here, off camera, is filming this and streaming it to their car, so they have a great view too. Yeah, I know things aren't great right now. But you as a creative person, I want to encourage you to connect the dots. Look for the opportunity. If you don't like what you have right now, you got to make some changes. And sitting around waiting for it is not a viable strategy, in my opinion. And just realize that nothing changes if nothing changes. That's it for me. Thanks, everybody.
We need audio.
Audio. Go to
Hey,
Chris. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, fantastic.
Great.
Let's cue the audio. Do we have audio?
You got
Yes.
us on? Okay, great.
Fantastic. Chris, first of all, thank you very much. Can we cue an applause? We don't have that. We didn't think of that. Okay, we'll do it for you.
I'll tell you one thing.
Thank you.
I tell you one thing.
Yes, sir.
We need that screen, you know, like that Tony Robbins has, because that would be really that would be something.
Guys watching from home, please do send us money so that we can buy the 10 million million dollar screen.
We're
Okay,
gonna
I'm
start
just
a GoFundMe for that.
I'm quickly checking the comments just to see if there is any question or if anybody wanted to come on the show to ask you a question. I want to ask you a question because I know that this is going to come up sooner or later. All the examples that you have shown us, although they're very good and positive, they might not relate directly to somebody that has decided to be a designer and wants to work as a designer. How do we comment on this, call it point of view, or how do we respond to somebody saying something like that?
Well, I want to respond. And the reason why I structured the deck the way I did, Fabio, is that I think when you say, well, I'm a designer, these things don't speak to me, it's because you're thinking about, well, it doesn't look like a poster I can design, or it doesn't look like an object I can design, so this doesn't apply to me.
Yeah.
And that's why I said the Herbert Simon definition of design, which is someone who devises a course of action to move from an existing situation to preferred one. So I look at it like this, like I'm an educator. I used to fly around the world and speak and do workshops with people just like yourself. I can't do that anymore. I'm not going to sit here and complain about it. So what I have to do is I have to create my version of Tony Robbins' virtual stage and to be able to produce workshops where I feel like the energy is similar and I can engage with people in a way that feels meaningful to me and the participants. And we need to design that situation happening.
Yeah.
So I'm not quite sure, like you'd have to give me more specifics and I would push back really, really hard because I think what we're doing is we're just looking at making things beautiful. It's an aesthetic thing that we're looking to solve. And that's probably not the way to look at this. Like if you're a graphic designer, in that example with Sweet Green, all it was like, we need to communicate to people that they could still trust the food that they're eating. So simple red label that looks like one of those quality safety seals just reminds you that it's okay because our fears are irrational, that somebody that's prepping your salad is coughing all over it. They're not wearing a mask and they're not washing their hands or sanitizing their hands properly. And that just reassures you that this is good. And the fact that, and I have to say this because when I would eat at these restaurants or cafes, I'd have to get into line, I had to wait my turn, and then I have to order, and then they'd make it in front of me, and then they'd give it to me, and that whole process is inconvenient. Now I use an app. There's plenty of curbside parking. I pull up. I go through one door. The meal's there because they texted me and said, your meal's ready. That is so much more convenient to me. And I think that in the future, when everything returns back to normal, I wouldn't want to go back to normal. Like, I prefer this way. And that's just thinking it through from a design point of view and innovating. And these are very small innovations.
Yes, it makes
Yeah.
sense. I think that sometimes, we need to hear people talking about this stuff the way that you have done, because, sometimes designers become prisoners of their own way of doing things, right? And they cannot see very far because they learn how to work, say, in Illustrator or Photoshop, and they say, this is my competence, I'm very good at doing that, but beyond that, I simply cannot go. Jason, you have a question, right?
Yeah, Chris, I mean, it's kind of following up on that same theme. But could you share with us some of the best financial advice that you've heard or received in your career? And more specific, like what's proven to be very important and useful to you during this time? Like this time of
Ooh.
crisis.
Okay. The best financial advice in my career, writing this down, and what to do in this time of crisis, right?
Yes.
Are those the same question or two separate questions? I'm trying to get
No, and
a better understanding of what
and
you're saying,
perhaps
Jason.
how that advice that you were given, that financial advice you were given, helped you in this time, perhaps, like in that way.
Okay. I have to think here, because the financial advice that I've been given have come from a place of opportunity, where I have a surplus of things, and where am I going to put my money and how am I going to invest. And I don't think that's going to be helpful to people, especially because, look, I'm not denying that there's a lot of pain going on right now, that people are worried about how they're going to pay rent or keep their mortgage up or where their next job's coming from, because it's pretty dry out there. And the way that I can just tell you this is, and the reason why I wanted to end on that quote, that nothing changes if nothing changes, is you have to go and do something at this point, because waiting, in most cases, especially in the United States, you're waiting for the government or your city or state to kind of figure things out. That's a really, really bad plan. And you have to now become active. And I think when I talked about accelerating things and pushing people, I think this is also our opportunity as individuals, as creative human beings, to rise to the challenge. That you've been waiting to rebuild that site, or to learn a new skill, or to call up a client you haven't talked to in 3 years, just to check in on them, to see how things are going, to see if you could be of service to them. That's the kind of courage you need right now, and to be able to go do something. And I think a lot of people have been postponing on creating content or publishing their article or getting their name out there somehow. Because I'm telling you, a lot of people aren't buying, but there are just as many people who are starting new businesses who are trying to figure this thing out. So I want to tell you one other thing. This isn't exactly 100% tied to the question you just asked, Jason, but I think about some of the biggest mistakes I've made and what I would have done differently. And it's been very hard for me to answer this question, but I just realized something recently. I haven't been in the office for a long time. And I go by my phone and there's a message there. So I'm like, what voice message? I check my voice message, and it's from my real estate broker. And he's like, hey, Chris, I just want to call you and congratulate you. It's your 14th anniversary in the house that we helped you to buy. I just wanted to share that fact with you, and that was it. And if you guys need anything, let me know. I'm here for you. And I thought about this, and that was one small effort that my real estate broker, who I haven't talked to in a really long time, had done just to check in on me. I know it's a sales call. I know that. I'm a sophisticated buyer. But it made me think, in my lifetime, how many times did I make customer service an important part of my activities? And then I realized that in the 20 plus years in business, where we've done over $80 million of business, I don't think I've done that one time. I always thought that doing good work and being nice to work with was the customer service. But now I'm realizing that that's just what they paid you for. That's what is expected, that you need to go that extra eighth of an inch, as Garrison talks about. And I haven't done that at all. So I'm going to give you the advice that I should have taken myself, which is, what have you done for your clients to foster this kind of relationship and connection to make them feel special and appreciated? Because those people are going to be the clients that you're going to remember, or that are going to remember you.
Yeah.
Chris, let me be a little bit provocative, right?
Please.
There are a lot of people that consider their career in design as a job, meaning they expect to work for somebody and they expect to rely on somebody. And those people, they don't even want to have a vision about what they could build on their own because they're simply not interested. And I've had the chance to talk to a few of them that want answers which are, you know, how do I get a job? How do I find something to do, because at the moment there is nothing to do? What can we say to those guys?
Ooh, I think people make this assumption that a job is forever. It's like, it's not a diamond. A job is a relationship built on mutual convenience for both of you. For example, if you got a better job offer from a company that's going to pay you twice as much, you're going to say, see you later. And if they have to make decisions because they've found somebody that is half as expensive as you and does 4 times as much as work and is much easier to work with, they're also going to say, see you later. So I don't understand why people act and work in a job and think it's forever. Never did it say in a contract that you sign, this job is forever. So what happens, I think, a lot of times is we are now putting our faith in, and our future, our financial well-being, and maybe our mental health too, in the hands of somebody else. That's a pretty dangerous thing to do, don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't do that. And I've talked about this before, is we have insurance to cover every kind of thing: tornado, fire, earthquake. We have car insurance, life insurance. We have errors and omission insurance. But there's one kind of insurance we don't have.
COVID.
That insurance is... No.
They won't pay for that
I
either.
wish, right? I wish. Good answer. Good on the buzzer there. No, the one kind of insurance we don't have is we don't have job insurance. Like, we make no investment in ourselves in case the job isn't there forever. And it's not going to be. What do I mean by that? I mean, you get the job. You feel like, I'm set. You stop learning. You stop trying to innovate. You stop doing self-development. You stop posting on social media thinking this is forever. And so when they let you go, and eventually it's going to happen. I'm telling you right now, it might not be 1 year. It could be 5. It could be 10. It could be 20 years. But eventually it's going to fall apart. And then you're out on the street thinking, what have I done with my life? What do I have to show for this? I've been in cruise control for the last 10 years. I've not posted a single thing anywhere, shared anything. And now you're panicked. And I know you're panicked because you're reaching out to me. Chris, I was working at this job for 10 years. I was just let go and I don't know what to do. I have no opportunity. So it's a modest investment to protect you against the inevitable, which is in catastrophic failure, what plan do you have? And you have no plan.
Chris, let's address those who are maybe just starting out, or those who are fresh in the industry and maybe they don't have a lot of money and they find themselves completely lost. Which kind of advice can we give to those who have less tools than the more experienced ones?
Right. We have good news, bad news. Good news, if you're relatively new in the industry, you probably haven't grown accustomed to living some lavish lifestyle. You're not used to going out and having $100 lunches or whatever. And so this is good because you need to keep your expenses to a minimum. And if you're a recent or new graduate, whatever you can do to reduce your expenses, to consolidate things, to get rid of things that you don't need, to kind of lower your overhead, this is really, really important. The other thing that you have is you have an abundance of energy and enthusiasm, and you have a lot of time. What a fantastic time to actually sit down and read some books and watch some videos and make a plan for your future. It's not like you can do a lot else, right? So work on this. Like, Fabio, I've read more books this year than I have in my entire life. And I feel like I'm growing at an exponential level because those books have been haunting me, but I haven't had the time. Now I have time.
I had to say that when we started to talk before the this chat, I was like, what's going on with Chris? It feels like he's reached the higher level of Cyan. It's like I can feel the aura emanating from the screen.
Yeah, you know, like even in a year's time, as I look back on the decks, because I have to kind of update my decks, I'm like, wow, I've learned so much more since that time, and it feels so good.
Yeah.
Like if you have no opportunity, the best thing that you can do for yourself right now is prepare for the opportunity when it happens. This is really important. So we're sitting around, we're playing video games, we're getting depressed, we're eating our way to like a waist size that's like 3 times or 3 inches larger than it used to be. We're not doing anything that's helping us when the jobs and the market returns, and it will return. So if the innovative model, this whole be a problem seeker thing is too far away for you, at least just be prepared so that when opportunity knocks, you're there.
Fair enough. Yeah. I'm just keeping an eye on the chat to see if there are any questions or if anybody wants to come on the show, maybe just to say hi.
Yeah, Chris, I have something else I was just thinking about. It's not something that we prepared, but just based on kind of what you were saying. And I think a lot about like the things that happen to us, about them being coincidences, but the reality is that they're not. It might be coincidental that something happens, but if we're not prepared, like you said, if we're not prepared to jump on those coincidences or those things that just happen to show up out of nowhere, which you think is a coincidence, if you're ready for it, it's not actually a coincidence anymore. It's like it's something that was there. You were ready for it to happen. If it goes by and you weren't ready for it, and you don't maybe even notice that it happened, right? Right. I sometimes think about those things, like how your life goes. This is one of those things.
I don't want to get biblical on you. If you push my knowledge there, it'll fall apart in a second. So there's this thing, it like rained for 40 days and 40 nights, right? And the world perished, except for one family. They built the ark. Noah and his family built the ark. I know it's a story, but it's a good analogy to what we're talking about right here. Is you can't wait for it to rain. You can't wait for COVID to fall upon you and the world to fall apart for you to start putting things into action, because then you're just playing catch up. And it's very hard to build a boat while it's raining all over you. So Noah built his ark in preparation for the flood that was to come, and he was able to stay safe. So if you look at our business right now, I was talking to my brother yesterday. My older brother, he's in tech. He's a software engineer, very successful guy. And he asked me, like, how's your business going? I said, it's fine. He's like, can you do this from anywhere? I said, yes, I can. I have basically no more clients. I have no office that I need. I can do everything I need with this camera, with a couple of devices, throw in a large suitcase, and I'm good to go from anywhere in the world. And so we have, I guess, very early on, started to move away from a service business to a product and education company. And now we're doing just fine. I haven't had to lay off a single person. I'm not even thinking about cutting salaries because we built this thing up. And if anything, we're really poised for growth. I'm shocked. And because Ben Burns, our chief operating officer, gives me monthly reports and says, Chris, we're a little bit ahead of where we were last year, which blows my mind because we're not able to do nearly as much as we used to be able to do. And the fact that somehow we filled that gap. So I'm not stressing about anything. I have a 13,000 square foot building, and my brother's like, do you have to sell? What do you have to do? Can you get some really creative ways of using a space and warehouse it? I'm like, no. The mortgage is paid because our company is doing just fine. He's like, what about your other building? What if they get out and they leave you holding the bag? Yeah, that's going to suck. But that building's paid off too.
Yeah. And
we generate enough passive income through our products and through donations and people who support us that we're going to be fine. So we can keep making videos and helping people. This was 6 years in the making since 2014. It's not like COVID hit, let's start an education company, right? I'm going to share one more story. I should have included this in the examples here. I'm not going to tell you who this is, but there's a person, a friend of mine who's an illustrator. He's part of my pro community, and he's been teaching kids how to make art for some time. He's written a couple of books on this, actually.
That's Federico. You can put him on mute for now Chris, go
Right?
ahead, and then
Chris, go
we'll
ahead.
we'll
Sure.
introduce the.
So this person, he was planning on doing workshops and teaching, and COVID hit, so he has to really quickly adapt. Long story short, he enlisted a bunch of his friends who are great teachers and created a program for people who have little kids around and want to do art. And in launching this thing, in a matter of months, he generated over $700,000 in sales teaching kids art.
That's
So
amazing.
it wasn't an overnight thing. He has been doing this for years, but then the opportunity happens, Jason. An opportunity knocked and he opened the door.
Yeah.
Now, Chris, let me just ask you before I give the access to Federico. I've been following you since 2014. I remember the first videos that you were recording inside of the Institute, School of Art, School of Design. I don't remember.
Pasadena, wasn't it? Yeah.
And they were in black and white and super low quality and super noisy. But, you know, I was already learning from you. What did it take for you to trust your guts and to say, this is the direction in which from now on we're going to? Because you need to be more than aware in order to have that sense of self, what do you want to call it?
Confidence,
Self-confidence.
awareness, yeah, self-confidence.
Self-awareness also.
You know, the reason why I shared this rather lengthy and perhaps boring for a lot of people, this whole process of finding problems, is because I like to find problems. Because where problems exist, if you come up with a novel solution, you will benefit from that financially, and your self-confidence will grow. So I was already seeing YouTube making an impact on how we could possibly reach a lot of people, and I encourage the traditional universities and schools and educational institutions to use social media, these publicly available platforms, and nobody was listening to me. And I thought it was crazy, right? So if you're in a town with a lot of creative people like Los Angeles is, you used to have to go to a studio tour where you pay money and you go out there at 7 p.m. and drive in traffic and park and deal with all that stuff to kind of see the inner workings of a studio. And it seemed pretty obvious to me. Why not just film that studio tour and share it with people all over the world? That seemed to make a lot of sense. And at that time, too, I was doing a lot of research into what is wrong with the education system, how we have professors lecture and give the same talk over and over again, every semester, every quarter, every year. And we need to change. We need to innovate. So it seemed very obvious to me that there was a problem to solve, and I was able to leverage my years of teaching experience, my love for making videos and for teaching and working with people, and just trying new stuff. You know, all that stuff that scares you? It scares me too. But I try to tell myself that scary stuff, it's also it feels a lot like excitement.
Yeah.
So if you can flip that switch and just go for it and make small educated guesses,
Yeah.
you won't go bankrupt. You won't be professionally humiliated and ruined, because you'll just adjust. If it doesn't work once, try it again. And if you've been with us in those early days, Fabio, you've seen that we've messed up. You'll see us evolving in real time in front of your face.
You know, I don't want to say that, but that's the reason why I think we are on the right path, is because we see that we mess up also very often. And we're like, I've seen the best messing up, and, you know, it's just like bumps on the road that eventually end up making your car stronger.
You have to mess up. If you don't mess up, you're not doing anything new.
Chris,
You have to mess up.
I'm sorry. I wish I could keep you here for another 2
Let's
hours.
get Federico's
But
question.
I see Federico is
All right.
growing impatient.
Okay, Federico,
Let's-
I'm gonna hit ask to unmute. You're gonna have to
Unmute
to
yourself.
do it. Yeah.
I actually could just keep hearing Christos speaking for 3-4 hours,
you get
something
to
like
sit
that.
there
So there's no,
the
Chris, if you
screen.
want to speak, just keep going on and just shut up. Don't worry. No, anyway, I'm a big fan of your content. I mean, your videos have been so influential to me. I'm also an architectural visualizer, Fan of the D2, of course. Thank you, Fabio and Jason, for doing all of this, because it's crazy. It's a crazy amount of commitment. Anyway, Chris, my question was about content creation. I feel that ArcViz has a kind of a gap when it comes to content creation. My feeling is that ArcViz is just slowly trying to get on board of this train. I myself am a content creator, although not 100% in English. My native language is Italian. I'm a content creator for Italians. But my question is, from a place of a content creator, what's the best way to create content? I mean, right now I feel there's a bit of an overload in content creation, especially due to COVID-19. There's a lot of people that jumped aboard this train. So how do we keep our content relevant, and above all, from who we're creating content? For our clients, for our peers, and how should we strike a balance between the two? I hope it's clear.
It's very clear. And for someone who's not a native English speaker, I think your English is tremendous. So I understood everything that you said. So Federico, so let me see if I can unravel this very complex ball of a question that you've presented to me, okay? A lot of components here. So we know that we need to make content. We know. It doesn't matter if you're a juggler or you do ArcViz or whatever it is that you do. You need to make something, because otherwise how is anybody going to ever find you? You don't have enough money to advertise. That's the bottom line, right? And since none of us have a fairy godmother who's our PR agent, just making sure the best people find out about us, we have to take matters into our own hands. And so the first thing is, there is an overload of content, for sure. We saw that in the first month and a half of COVID. People were just like streaming like, I'm going to pick my nose. And then the internet bandwidth was just dropping. But here's the interesting part, is there's this initial wave of people who want to make content. And I would call them like dabblers, explorers. They're not in it for the long haul. They're just like, I'm bored. I don't know what to do. So I'm just going to do this thing. But don't worry, they all wash out anyways. Every time there's a new technology, a new fad, like frozen yogurt, it's like eventually it just washes out and then the cycle resets. So I wouldn't worry about them. They're not committed to making it work, because, and Seth Godin talks about this in his book, The Dip. It's like when it gets hard, people quit. They go down the valley and they just quit, because now it's like, oh, I have to invest in gear. I have to actually learn how to light and to speak and to present and write and prepare. They don't do that. But you will, because you're committed. Because this isn't just like, I'm going to try this thing. I'm making this a part of who I am and how I'm going to present myself to the world. So you're going to do that. And eventually the good stuff rises to the top, right? The cream rises to the top, as they say. Now, I've noticed something, that people who I would not consider like the best in their industry, they're not the most artistic, they're not the most creative, that they still have a good sized following because of their personality. They speak to a group out there that look like them, that sound like them, and believe what they believe. Like, I think I'm a pretty smart person, but I turn off a lot of people because they just don't like the way I look, the way I sound, the color of my skin, how aggressive I am sometimes. So that means there's an opportunity. There's an opportunity for some soft-spoken, very kind, very generous, somebody who's going to be extremely patient with you. And there's going to be a whole audience for you. So I think the thing is, you need to lean into who you are, what makes you unique and different, that you're Italian, that you have a lovely accent, that you do ArcViz stuff, and I would just lean into that. And then that's going to draw all those kinds of people that think like you, that want to be like you, that they're there, okay? Now, the problem with making content for clients is it becomes very transparent as to what you want. Mr. and Mrs. Client, I'm producing this piece because I'm going to sell you me. I want you to buy who I am. I want you to buy that I'm good, that you should hire me. And people are very good at smelling that. They can see that coming a mile away. I'm going to suggest you do this. And it will have a long-term benefit, not a short-term benefit, which is to share your gift, to teach people. Like, these are time-saving shortcuts, or here's how you can build this thing really fast and get really good looks, or here's something that took me 10,000 hours to make, and I hope you guys enjoy this labor of love. What happens is when you share, you automatically get viewed as a teacher. And a teacher is another term for an expert. So all of a sudden, all these people that are in your industry start to talk about you and see you as somebody that knows a lot about something. And now you become the standard. You become a subject matter expert. And then eventually the clients will find you because they'll type in, how do I save money? How do I get the best look? How do I use this kind of light? And then all of a sudden your name will come up. And they see how good you are. And this is the thing that most creatives don't get. They think they'll watch your video and then do it and not call you. It's actually the opposite. When I see Gordon Ramsay make a steak and he shows you how to make the perfect steak, it looks pretty easy. I'd rather just go to his restaurant and pay him to make it for me. That's what people just don't understand. So that's what you got to do. Did I answer all your questions?
Yeah, of course. I mean, this brings up a lot of so many more questions, but we don't have time.
Guys,
Fabio, yes.
unfortunately, we're out of time.
So many other questions.
Federico,
Okay.
you need to realize that you're very lucky tonight because Chris has never told me that my accent is beautiful, although I'm Italian.
I like your
pissed
accent.
about this.
It makes you, Fabio. It just makes your personality. It's part of the person, you know.
But listen, I want to thank you both for you for coming online, Chris, you for waking up very early to be here tonight with us.
Thanks for the
Unfortunately,
chance, guys.
Unfortunately, we have to stop this because we need to cue the next presenter. We're going to take a 5 minutes break. Federico, good night. Chris, again, thanks a lot for tuning in.
Federico.
It was very
Thank
nice
you,
having you
guys.
here. I wish you good night, and we will talk in the next few days so that we can give you an update of how this whole thing went. Is that okay?
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Chris,
Thanks.
for being
thanks
on.
Thanks,
a lot.
everybody. Thanks for having me.
You're
really great.
amazing, and we look forward to seeing you more of you, maybe hopefully on this channel in the future.
Okay.
Thanks a
Take care,
lot.
guys.
Take care.
Bye,
Good night.
Jason. Bye, Fabio.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
And I guess we're live. So guys, I really hope that you enjoyed the first part of tonight's event. I think it was amazing. People were like super happy and comments are still coming in. A lot of people liked the video so far. If you just tuned in, give us a like. It really helps the video gets viewed. Now we have the next speaker, but for this speaker, oh, I have no hat.
Man.
Oh my God.
I just saw it on the
what happened
speed.
to me? No hat.
That's all right.
I have no superpower without the hat.
Exactly, that's why I told you.
So the next speaker, we're not going to announce it. We're just going to share a video with you, and you'll have to watch it and enjoy it. Are we ready?
Are we ready?
Video.
Let's do it.
It's me. All this mindless, futile pursuit. It's just an exhausting, endless tail chase. My hands are starting to bleed and my eyes are teary, and for what? My scars run even deeper, but the pain is still the same, and the walls of anguish are starting to close in, and every single action I take is inconsequential. There is no absolution.
Hello, hello. Hello.
Arigato.
Arigato.
Hi,
That was really
everyone.
great.
Great, guys. Beautiful work. So, for those who didn't understand, we have tonight the guys from Diorama.
Yay.
Can we hear some excitement on your end?
Yay! Yeah! Yeah! I got
Harakiri!
tired. This video was too long. Shit.
Well, that's what happens also when I make videos myself. That sometimes I take so much footage that I don't want to throw it away, and so I squeeze everything inside.
Exactly. Can I
Yeah.
put my big face online?
Of course, you can
Yeah,
do
you
that.
guys do what you guys. It's all up to you. I'm
We're
gonna put
also
us on there
gonna
too. Yeah, just so for
let
the
you.
moment.
Hello.
We're also gonna give you
Hello.
full control of the platform. We're going to mute ourselves. We're gonna switch ourselves off, and then you can start your presentation. Good luck, guys.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
So go ahead and start, and I'll get it set up where it looks good. All right.
Go on,
Paul,
share.
Paul.
Let's start.
So, a little bit of improvisation. I just saw Fabio and Jason enjoying the video, so we are so really happy about that. Everybody is here. We can now start to present ourselves. Unfortunately, we're not in Vienna. We cannot do it in person with a good beer in our hands. But we are really honored to have the chance to showcase our production here and tell you that we tried to do something a little bit different than that we would have do in a real conference. So we produced this video to introduce ourselves and to show our ideas to you all. Basically, why you might ask yourself why Japanese? This wasn't supposed to be a language for us, but just graphics supporting the art direction of our today's presentation, focusing on the visual quality of the video, the aesthetic, and of course, staying anonymous, as you can see also from our names here on Zoom. Now that is disclosed, we are Diorama, and we just showed you how we are trying to move beyond ArcViz, as you saw in the last frames of the video. There is no magic potion for us, no secrets. The key is the deadline. As good Italians, we are always late. So we thank Fabio, Jason, and Christian, who gave us the opportunity today to put us in a rush for the last month. The month we normally are on vacation, we worked late, as we usually do. We sent the last version of the video at 5:30, I guess. And how? So let's say how we try to do that, how we try to move forward and take advantage of our skills, the skills we acquired in ArcViz, and become something maybe different, bigger. Personally, I'm Gilberto. I can present myself now. I'm one of the co-founder of Diorama. I need new stuff to do every average time 8 minutes. I have the capacity of focusing of my 3-year-old son. The 5-year-old one is already far more focused than me. And I have the chance to have a big team working with me that has the same problem. So we drink some beers. I was sbagliato in Milan, and we find new challenges. We try to transform them in opportunities, amusements, and sometimes productions. We needed this conference to produce them. We were speaking about them since months, and we found that always helps to continue growing and building our own projects. That helps us to adapt to the events we all just lived a few months ago. We are trying to find our way to do that. We believe for sure, and we practice a lot smart working, but we also believe, even if we are moving almost 100% online in our workflow, we also believe that a physical place where we can create opportunities, when we can share our thoughts and our experiences, is fundamental. We believe that a platform to diversify our fields and of interest and share them with others it's an amazing opportunity. We are building a place where our all departments can take place and share space, ideas, and experiences with everybody, with somebody else. So it's a place open to the community. It's a concept. It's a concept who took birth on a physical place. We're moving them in Milan in November, and it's a natural consequence of our entity. We are, as said, originally specialized as an ArcViz company, but over the years we have evolved towards a wider audio and visual production company, including commercial and luxury 3D images, virtual reality, architectural animation, some films. We're trying to push them in architecture too. So Motel Diorama is the perfect compromise between a collective we are kind of becoming, and a general production company, widening the field of possibilities in a natural way. So Motel D, which means Motel Diorama, is a place to meet, is a place to grow, share, make experiences, and for sure, as the name says, a place to party all together. So as you had the chance to see again, we are many different things. Even if it was written in Japanese, we were trying to pass this message, but mainly we are a team. So I can give the word to the other guys here with me. that will go deeper in the topics of our our research and our ideas. Go, guys.
Hi, everyone. I'm Francesca. Nice to meet you all. I'm gonna tell you a little about the recent evolution of the real-time department. We started some time ago developing VR projects, mainly for architecture and fashion, with a real engine. Because of the large potential of this software, we realized that we had to really use it to try to reach those untouched fields we were missing out. So we ended up aiming to broaden our horizon, looking for people with different backgrounds, to add transversal knowledge to our workflow and to expand our know-how. Thanks to this beautiful conference, we had the chance to dedicate a few days to produce this little teaser you just saw with the help of the resourceful Epic Games Marketplace and the huge Megascan library and the work of our team who realized those great assets. This production was the perfect way to present our goal, to go beyond the everyday commercial job to give birth to ambitious projects. We imagined to represent this opening as a crazy journey, because that's what it is, crazy, full of adventures that leads us to unexplored land, with the certainty that we will find a safe place for people with original and breaking ideas to put into practice, Motel Diorama. We are committed to explore multiple fields, and we want to push the boundaries, creating interactive experiences for entertainment's sakes, unreal virtual worlds to be explored through all possible devices, or even to give a new life to some ancient ones. Cinematic environments for visual production, implementing a dynamic workflow enhanced and enriched by the artistic contribute of professionals working together as a team. The events that changed our lives during these last months, this lockdown, made it clear that virtual reality and digital environments could be essential tool to our next new future. Digital is not meant to replace reality, at least we hope not, but to enhance user experiences, offering an alternative dimension to complete or even either sublime reality. Reproducing reality into digital is reductive. Exploring the fields of the limitless is interesting. What is unachievable into reality could much easily be done virtually. So we can't wait to see how Unreal 5 new features, Nanite and Lumen, will boost the real-time production workflow. So guys, we have cool projects coming up, and who knows, maybe this little space journey could become an actual video game for you to play with. Who knows? Stay tuned not to miss the opening in November of this new Diorama adventure that will be hosted as a digital party for those who won't be able to join us in Milan.
Hey folks, for those who don't know me, my name is Bond, James Bond, yeah, doing architecture. No, actually, my name is Euros, but people usually misspell it, so they say Euros. I have some monetary value at the end. Anyhow, I think you can Google all of us, because a couple of years ago, months actually, we received an email threatening that our private data will be published, so good luck with that. Actually, I'm dealing with videos at Diorama. A couple of years so far, we departed with architectural animation, as we are kind of architectural visualization studio. And we always wanted to bring a specific look to those animations. We wanted to provide something more to all those clients that we had at the moment. So we wanted to try to achieve kind of atmospheric and more dramatic look. What was kind of successful, but you know, clients, they always want like children, happy children, sunny mood, you know, flowers everywhere. And unfortunately, we didn't have a lot of freedom over there. So at the end, like all those things we can't even publish, even though if we produce some amazing stuff, like it's under NDA and like it's forgotten. So we decided to explore more, and as all those things that we have presented previously, like model diorama and all those concepts like real time and retrorama, like all those concepts are kind of our creativity, the process of our production of certain kind of studio. So the idea with Diorama Film was to bring more freedom in the production, and at the same time have some economic value, but to make the work enjoyable. So we made a couple of commercial stuff, we made a couple of items, couple of titles, and like everybody was quite happy with that. And fortunately, at certain moment, we got the inquiry for short film, and this meant a lot of things to us because we are entering into a completely new industry at the moment, and finally brought us here with this short trailer of the Superstate that you saw previously. And this trailer was done like very quickly in maybe like 15 to 20 days with some really like rough stuff, such as like motion capture with the iPhone, like, you know, a lot of the problems to resolve and so on in this really short deadline. But we figure it out, and like we are really happy to enjoy this kind of production. So basically we are doing a bunch of collaborations with a lot of the other artists, which are naturally not the part of the production in the sense just to come and go, like finish the stuff and leave. But we really like to hear their ideas, because Diorama is actually one big idea actually. And it's really necessary to distress from the work with the ideas. So we are going into production of this short film. And if you enjoyed it and liked it, stay tuned and grab some links as soon as we leak them. Paul?
Oh, Boris. Hey, hello everyone. Very happy to be there. And I am Paul from Diorama, working for Diorama since a long time ago right now. I am French and my English is French. So I will tell you a bit more about Retrorama. What is it? Actually, Retrorama is a collaborative and participative web series. The main concept of this web series is to create alternative city where some imagined building, you know, there is a lot of imagined building by some architect who never came to the life. So we want they finally existed. We want to start our first season with Paris. So we could speak about Retro Paris, the alternative city Retro Paris. So where did it come from? The idea starts something like 1 year ago from a simple concept, the concept of unbuilt architecture. Actually, there is a billion of interesting projects visually and cinematographically speaking who never came to the life. We have the knowledge to create them in our virtual world because our this background. So what we can do with that? So we decided to start to do some research, and we found particularly interesting one exhibition would take place in 2015 in Paris at Cité de l'Architecture. This exhibition is Revoir Paris. And they have a really nice catalog. You know, the catalog that you can buy at the end, where you can find all the resume of the exhibition, who were a lot of drawing, a lot of, you know, like comics things. It was pretty nice. In fact, all the exhibition was managed by François Schutten and Benoît Peters. Maybe probably some of you know, they are both writer and draftsman, and they wrote the famous comics book Les Cités Obscures. So this guy thinks a lot about the future of the society, the future of the city, and design many alternative worlds. So for us, it was like the starting point. And we, after a lot of other research, we decided to select something like, I guess, 10 unbuilt building. So the question was what we can do with this building. Actually, influenced by comics, manga, some funny cartoons, we decided to create some light story. We can reveal some hot topics related to the architecture, the city, and of course the life. So we wrote 10 super short stories who will be a trail for the future collaborator. I will speak a bit later about what does it mean collaborator for us. Each building in our world replaces the actual existing building at the same place. Its function is exaggerated, like you saw in the trailer with the mouse and the woofer, some kind of crazy things that we want to explore. Wrote a story includes the most part of the time to create some character, and the mess, the runner, the kiefer, and the spaceman came to the life like a caricature of the Parisian. Each of them are, how can I say, exaggerate cliché of someone typical in Paris. Parisian, don't be afraid, it's still a caricature for fun. So why a web series? Actually, it came the moment where we asking to ourselves what it could be. It could be some images, what we usually do. It could be a comics, it could be an animation. Actually, Retrorama is a bit of all these things. We can explore, we explore, and we want to explore different way of representation. In reality, Retrorama is not only a web series. It's an experimental concept, a mood, a way to explore new and different things that we usually don't have time to do because we have to earn money. We have to do some commercial work. So the web series is the final production, like the development framework. Now we can say we have something like 10 episodes. We imagine 2-3 minutes for each of them, but let's see what will happen. Maybe it will be a bit different. We want to, the main goals is we want to share all the extra content and develop some extra tourist draft animation, and who will do it? So we thought about, let's say maybe the virtual community could be interested. So in fact, I spoke a few times about collaborator and at the beginning about participative and collaborative web series. In fact, we are always looking for artists at the office. Diorama is like a cloud. We completely have the ability to remote working. We can work from everywhere. We have these stories, this character, this building, this concept, and it is actually a strong base. We would like to open Retrorama to the community and share this experience with everyone. So the idea now is to take advantage and launch as soon as possible. It should come really soon. A call for action on social media. We would like from some people interested by the concept who could work on it to go further in each story, concept, and etc. With their own idea, their own creative way to learn from each other and probably find new artists who could also work on some other project integrating our team. So to finish, Retrorama is a big part of R&D, but there is also other thing. We have our internal challenge, like face builder challenge. Actually, we try to put some challenge. I have to manage at the same time to change each slide, and it's quite difficult for me to do two tasks in the same time. So we launched some internal challenge like face builder challenge. Actually, we asked to everyone if they want to model their own face with face builder plugin for Blender. It was pretty funny. We get all the head of everyone. We also do some internal tutorial who maybe one day we could put on Instagram or social media to share with everyone. And we follow as much as possible the external challenge, like the Fabio Palvelli challenge. It was what is a really nice initiative, and really big thank you to you, Fabio Palvelli, all the team enjoy to work on it. Anyway, we want to share knowledge, experience, art direction, and all these things contribute to the team building. And in Diorama, it's really important. And I will let Massi continue to speak about that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. I'm Massimiliano. Hi, everyone. And I will tell you a little bit more about what Diorama is. Because Diorama is actually made of people. We are a team of people. We are crazy people, I must say, because of all this idea of the production we made for this D2 conference was decided during an aperitivo. In Italy, we do a lot of aperitivo, drinking some sbagliato. And so the whole idea of this production came out, because maybe you think that red is a random color of our presentation, but it's actually all the Campari we drank that night to decide what we want to make in place for you, to show what we can do. Because not really, jokes apart, as Gilberto said at the beginning, we need a deadline. We need a deadline since the university. We are used to work in a stress environment, and we do everything in a rush. And we think that also this can be something that we can use to make things better, because of all this production was made in 1 month. We produced all the content for the video in 1 month during our vacation, let's say like that. Thanks, Fabio. Thanks, Jason. And really, we need this deadline. We need to have our creativity really squeezed in the less time possible to let it flow, and we can produce something really interesting. Because during the years, Diorama is a young office, and we started to understand that commercial project, everyday job, what we do in our everyday working office life, it's really a benchmark for us, because we can test new skills there, we can test new software, we can test new techniques, and then we will apply this to like side project, as you saw, self-produced films or Retrorama or RT stuff that maybe later can be brought into the market as a video game, a playable environment. So this is important for us, because with this side project, we wanted to show you what Diorama really enjoy to do, because you all know that we do archivists, that we have our roots in archivists, but all this kind of production is a production that can allow our creativity to go beyond the limits that clients and promoters and people always are asking for blue skies, always impose to our production, to our images, to our film, to our creativity. So that's what we call, and maybe for the ones that follow us on the social media, that's what we call Diorama spirit. It's something that is really heterogeneous. Diorama team is made of heterogeneous people, and these heterogeneous people really try to collaborate together, to share their knowledge, to share their experience, but most of all, they try to grow together. And that's something that really we want to do in this next level. We love to call it Diorama 2.0, because of now we are moving from the classical archivist company to a more oriented production house with the Model D project. And this is what we want to wrap up. This is what we want you to invite to join. And this is one probably Gilberto will explain you better than me to make this final conclusion, because we spoke a lot and our video was really long, I know. So I will over the words to Gilberto.
Yeah, maybe. So what's we haven't showed any of our everyday jobs today, as you can see, because we are better in real production than presentations. We had just a few slides, but the real visual content was showcased at the very beginning. For our productions, just goes to our social media or social, you will find what you're looking for. But we choose to take this big chance to bring to life what we had behind the scenes. And I just wanted to invite you to follow us, because many news will come up starting from today. A lot of material has been produced. So in the next few weeks, we're going to release more and more stuff. We just showed you today. For sure, you have to save the date for our opening party in November. We don't have a date already. It will be held in Milan, so who want to join is more than welcome. It will be held also on online, as Francesca said, with our real-time department will prepare something really mind-blowing, I guess. A big thank you to all of you that attended the digital conference. Again, thanks to Fabio, Christian, and Jason for inviting us to this great event. Yes, and for sure the Diorama team.
Do we have audio? Okay.
Yes.
Oh, yes, you are online.
We are online. Guys, I just want to thank you so much for...
And gals. Guys and gals.
Guys and... oh, sorry.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry. My fault. I use guys with everything.
Fabio says guys to like, he calls his mom Guy.
Yeah.
Hey, guys.
When I moved to England, they told me that guys, it's like for everybody.
They were lying. No,
No, but I do the
I'm honored.
translation from Italian, you know, with gente. But anyway, guys and girls, thanks a lot for giving us your time, and I'm still not wearing
just
the
a
hat.
second, Fabio. Can you unshare the screen? Unshare
Yes.
your screen.
Oh yeah, of course.
You can either log off with that computer, Paul.
I'm just trying to see if there are any questions or if there is anybody that is willing to come online. Actually, whilst you guys were speaking, the chat went
Beautiful.
wild, and it felt to us almost like when we are in Vienna and everybody's outside drinking, and then there are the speakers inside, and then the people that come to the conference, they wait for us to upload the video so that they can watch the video later, because people come to the D2 to drink mainly. But anyway, we watched the whole thing, we listened to your story, we think it was amazing work that you managed to put up. Sorry for keeping you working throughout your holidays, also with the rendering challenges. But I guess that people loved it, and I just want to say it again. If anybody has a question, this is the time that we can ask questions to Diorama team. Let me see if there is any email coming in. Let's give it a couple of seconds. Anyway,
I think everybody was really... Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, if not, we can go grab a beer as we...
well, we need...
We're there with you.
We need to cue the next speaker, and obviously, because creative people are magnificent, we still haven't got the presentation.
No!
It's all right. They're sending it to us now.
We're going to do...
That was our role. That was our role, not somebody else.
You thought you were late.
We're going to act it out if we don't get it. We're just act out the presentation.
But it's okay. I think that the next speaker is going to really knock people off their socks, because the work that these guys do is amazing, and we're very excited. It's also your work was amazing, but you know, no need to tell you that.
Yeah.
People are asking what happened to the rendering challenges. Okay, so maybe we'll do a little bit of a extract. We're going to move the rendering challenges to the D2 channel because it was an activity that was a lot of fun. People loved it, and since we intend to bring more art and archivist related content to the channel, we think that moving the challenges to the D2 is going to be the best thing to do.
So you can look forward to that. There'll be some announcements about that coming
pretty
up
soon.
In the next month or so, for sure.
Also, no, you cannot have Fabio power pants. I'm wearing the same pants as yesterday. People love them. It's like they're very... if you know me, I'm a very colorful person. So yes, I wear colorful pants. It's the pants, yeah.
All right. Hey, you guys, that video was amazing. Guys and gals, the video was amazing.
Thank you.
And I really enjoyed it. And I think everyone in the comments, I could see it as well. They were all blown away. Thank you so much for preparing this for us and for being a part of the D2 Online. This was something that we had planned for you all to be in Vienna with us this year. And you came through anyway and stayed here and did this with us. And we really appreciate that. So we're going to
Thank you.
We're going to
Thank
sign
you.
off now.
We're going to take a little break,
yeah.
cue the next speaker. And thanks a lot, guys, for tuning in tonight and for speaking to our audience. We wish you good night. We're going to
You too.
stop the stream, and everybody watching from home will see each other in 15 minutes.
Yeah. We'll
Good
be back.
night.
guys.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
So hey everybody, we're back. It was about 15 minutes. I thought we'd be quicker, but it's okay. We're ready to go. Everything's settled, and we're going to introduce our next speakers for the day.
Yes, I have the introduction right here. So the next two speakers are both speculative architects and educators. One is based in Germany, and
so
the
hey
other
everybody, we're back. It was about 15 minutes.
I hear
thought
my
we'd be
own
quicker, but
Yeah.
it's okay. We're ready to go. Everything's settled, and we're going to introduce our next.
I
You
hear my
guys-
own accent.
Do you guys have YouTube on? You guys don't have YouTube on?
Maybe you have YouTube on.
Hold on, where we got? Oh, technical problems, of course. And
Who
we're
is-
going to introduce our next.
I hear my own accent. No, where is this coming from? Oh, there he was. Okay. Yes.
Super professional. That's what we are. So.
You
guys,
should have expected that.
sorry,
Okay.
Sorry.
Let me do that from the top, okay?
We're back. And we're back.
The problem is that I don't pay him enough.
That's the truth.
So the next two speakers are both speculative architects and educators. One is based in Germany and the other one is based in Belgium. One operates at the intersection of speculative design, immersive media, and real-time visualization, and is the co-founder of Futurely, a globally accessible educational platform for advanced architecture and design. The other guest tonight focuses instead of blurring the boundaries between fiction and non-fiction architecture, and is interested on emerging technologies and their theoretical and practical effects on the discipline. And also he teaches AI at Texas A&M. Ladies and gentlemen, we have with us tonight Vamsi Krishna and Joris Putteneers. Guys, good evening. Welcome to the D2 online.
Good evening. Good evening, guys.
Good evening.
Glad to be here.
Great to have you guys. Joris,
here,
you look
guys.
like you're sitting in the forest. Where are you?
I am in the south of France. Yeah,
That's
it's
Great.
You
Yeah.
probably have the best studio of everybody. Okay,
oh man, it's perfect.
guys, this is going to be the last lecture for tonight. We just want to take a few seconds
Yeah.
to thank our sponsors,
Yeah.
AMD and Autodesk, for giving us the opportunity to bring this event to you guys watching from home. Jason, do you want to
We have-
add something?
Yeah, AMD is our main sponsor and our technology partner, and they've been very great to us last year and this year to help us, make the D2 the best it can be. Autodesk also has jumped in this year with a lot of support. We have many other sponsors. You can see them on the website. You'll see it over the next days on the screens here. So please do what you can to support all of these sponsors, as without them, we could not make this happen at all. So just want to say that. Thanks, guys, for sitting there and listening to it, our little pitch. So I think now we should turn it over to you. So I'm going to share my screen. We're doing this presentation a little bit different than others. So I'm going to share my screen with you. Hold on just a moment. And then you can take it over. Okay. Oop. Sorry about that.
Yep.
This is of course bound to happen. So. And now.
Is this the first page?
So.
Just a second, guys.
Yeah, please set it up.
Yeah.
I'll let you do it. Okay,
Yeah.
so you guys take it away.
We can cut to the
Awesome.
screen. Thank you very much.
Awesome, guys.
Great. Hey, guys, everyone. This is Vamsi and Joris here with you today.
Hey.
And we are going to talk about virtual reality exponential. So our talk is called VR Exponential, and it's going to be a two-part talk. where Joris will start off, and he will talk about VR as a design tool, and I will continue on top of it after after Joris. So shall we get started, guys?
Perfect.
By the way, Fabio and Jason, we hear you. Yes, yes. No problem, no problem.
We are really making this one of a kind. I think I need to stop the share though. Hold on.
Okay.
No, I don't need to stop the share. I just need to. No, this is fantastic.
Stop the share. Is our audio off?
Yeah, now it's off.
Awesome.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
This, oh my God.
Perfect. As mentioned earlier, guys, so Joris will proceed with the first part. And here we go. Joris, get started.
My name is Joris Putteneers, and this presentation will be about the applications of using VR in a design production.
Guys, I don't think we can hear Joris. Fabio and Jason?
What happened now? What happened?
Joris?
I can't hear myself now.
Yeah.
Instead of using VR solely as a means of visualization, let's say in an interior, or some beautiful 360 images, today we'll be focusing on how we can use
right.
VR as an actual design tool. And let me first start by introducing some of the work I've been doing, and then 4 guys who have heavily influenced my thinking and my knowledge about the subject. Yes, so a quick introduction about myself. My name is Joris Putteneers. I'm a speculative architect and computational researcher from Belgium. Investigating architecture that lies between the fiction and non-fiction. I'm very intrigued by emergent technologies like VR and how they affect the theoretical and the practical implications of the discipline. I worked on some very beautiful projects with some very, fortunately, with some very talented people, including work for MoMA in New York and London Design Festival. And currently I am teaching a course on artificial intelligence applied on architecture at the Texas A&M University. And let me first start off by introducing to you one of my first projects in VR. So my background lies mostly in node-based systems. For the creation of 3D models, I preferably use node-based systems, and in my previous years I never really liked to model traditionally. For me, I found it a bit boring, perhaps because my knowledge was a bit limited on the subject, but my eyes totally opened when I saw work from Jama Jurabaev, who was working in the Industrial Light and Magic in London at that time. And I was so inspired that I decided to buy myself an Oculus Rift about 3 to 4 years ago. And following one of his tutorials on Patreon, I started to create my own projects. In this first example, it's called CopyPod, and it's a process that starts with a 2D image in a 360 empty canvas, which I adore in VR, is that there is absolutely no distractions. If you compare it to other traditional software packages like Blender or Houdini, there is always your modifiers or your settings or your timeline of your whatever. What results in a screen space that is 1/3 of your actual computer screen most of the time, or for beginners at least. So that's a beautiful plus point about VR, and I get excited every time I think about it, because I mean, it allows it allows you to be fully immersed in your project. There is no distractions, and the only interface between you and your model are basically your hands. You have these two controllers that are super intuitive to use, and you just draw with them in 3D space. And that's also something amazingly beautiful about VR, is that all the positive characteristics of drawing are being implemented into a 3D environment. And in this example, once you explore your 2D sketch, your 2D design, you can start extracting and extruding your shapes until they become readable and formal, in which you can work upon to create surfaces and surface imperfections until you get like a sketch of your 3D model. So in this case, I rendered this sketch in Eevee. It's a game engine in Blender. And what I like about it is the integration between VR and Blender, which is coming now in the latest updates, where those two are so good integrated. You can actually explore rendered models in a virtual environment. So this was a proposition of a design, which was then finalized and rendered in Eevee as well. So these are some snapshots. I did this series, including this one, for a collaboration with MATLAB Studios, and solely VR and Blender was being used. What also I really love about working in VR is the ability to kit bash in a way that feels so much more natural than you would do in a traditional 3D software package. You have the ability to pose and transpose different objects in a way that feels very natural. And that is something I really miss in traditional software packages. So these are still some examples of how I try to use kit bashing in a VR environment, and how I render them out and do some post-processing effects on top of those. In this scenario, these are some speculative details of a project I was working on. And this again is a kit-bashed robot made for another collaboration. So again, I really want to lay the focus on the ability to kit bash not only your mechanical parts, but also your soft body parts or your landscapes. And in this environment, I always use a gravity sketch for my hard surface models. And gravity sketch is basically a NURBS and a surface program. It's quite similar to your existing CAD software, except it's in a VR space without any distractions. This was a project where VR was used as more as a curator than as a producer. So this was made together with students from Texas, where we made an algorithm in Houdini that incorporates speculative resources in the soil to duplicate their own systems, and VR was used to investigate and instigate these connections, how they were being used and how they could be manipulated. So this model was brought into a VR space where some adjustments were being made. And the beautiful thing about working in the VR software is the ability to work upon existing models as well. So in this scenario, Oculus Medium was used, and Oculus Medium is a kind of a VR version of ZBrush. It's a voxel-based software with the beautiful ability to make your own KitBash library and actually use your KitBash library as a brush in the same time to get these very intricate and organic confounding shapes. So this is an example of some students using existing KitBash models as means of brushing with geometry. And the thing I really like about working with Oculus Medium in this case is that you generate these artifacts, these unexpected errors that are really wonderful if you can embrace them in your designs. Some more examples of where Medium was used in collaboration with ZBrush, and where some very intricate shapes were being created in the form of these speculative details by using some Boolean operations as well. And the wonderful thing is also that most of these products that are being made in VR are watertight, so they are 3D printable. So with minor adjustments, we have been able to 3D print our models on quite a big scale. So this is another example. And now that we've seen some of the stuff I've been doing and how I and my students incorporate VR, I would like you to celebrate the guys that inspired me to work in this workflow. And the first one is Jama Jurabaev. He's a senior concept artist at Industrial Light and Magic, and he was the one who really inspired me to make VR part of my workflow. And the way he uses VR, it's really wonderful. He makes a 2D representation or 2D design. He extracts and extrudes, and automatically what generates is a wireframe representation, almost like a skeletal or structural suggestion of your models, which he later then incorporates in his final models. And that is also something really interesting about using VR as a design medium, is that you get these artifacts and these distortions and these human errors in the design that makes it so tangible, and they can be read as suggestive details, which makes the model even more interesting. I love using VR as a means of playing around and experimenting with different kind of composition that you normally would not per se think of if you think in terms of a traditional software package. Playing around with your field of view or your depth of field or all these kind of things are very VR allows you to experiment with those, and that's what I love about it. And also a beautiful project from Jama Jurabaev is his truck or his tank, which shows the viewer that it is definitely not necessary to create these very precise models. All these suggestive details, all these beautiful intricacies are being created just by the creation of these unexpected artifacts or these wireframes that are coming through, or all these little errors are creating such a model that is so tangible, even more so than if it was modeled very accurately, in my opinion. And even with some post-processing effects, I think it looks really good. And this was one of the projects that inspired me so much to continue developing VR as a means as part of my workflow. Another big influence on the VR work is a guy named Finian McManus. At the moment he's a creative director at Terraform Studios, and he's a big advocate of using Oculus Medium. And as I mentioned before, Oculus Medium is a voxel-based sculpting tool, quite similar to ZBrush, but it has a couple of additional features in my opinion. For one, it's based in a VR environment, which means you get all the benefits of what is previously mentioned, but also it has one specific feature that I think is really powerful, and that is the ability to paint with models, with paint with geometry. You can paint with your kit-bashed elements, and during this process, while adjusting the resolution, it can create these wonderful artifacts and deformities that probably were not possible whilst using any other traditional 3D software. And I think Finian really incorporates those artifacts very well into his design to make, for one, the readability, enhance the readability, and also to enhance the level of detail. It automatically incorporates those suggestive details by embracing those artifacts. It's almost like a kind of aesthetic that lies between what is natural and artificial, or controlled and uncontrolled. And even though it's all a digital process, it can seem as if somehow it almost seems quite natural. Another big influence in my workflow is a guy named Sergei Gretchanyuk. I'm very sorry if I butchered your pronunciation. He's a concept artist from Ukraine, and in this project I want to accentuate that VR does not have a specific place in a project. It can be as a starting phase, as a sketching phase. It can also be as a experimental phase or as a finalization phase. It does not have a specific place. And I think in this project that is accentuated quite good. So he starts off with a 2D sketch of a robot. He plays around with poses, with composition, with the form language, with all those elements. And then he translates his ideas into a three-dimensional VR environment, where he does not only transform from 2D to 3D, but in that process he adds a lot of beneficial information and has the freedom to explore all kinds of different poses and compositions that perhaps were not in his mind while he was designing in 2D. And once he's happy with the finalized model, he starts playing around with composition, with color schemes, and all those elements, and finally realizing his final result. So just to accentuate that VR is not a specific place in a project. It can be situated on every level. Okay, so why should you incorporate VR in your current workflow? My personal opinion is because it's very intuitive. There is a total immersion between you and your subject. There is a relatively no learning curve, no distractions on the canvas, and whilst designing, the process gives you all these beautiful suggestive details and additional information for free. And on that note, if you haven't tried it already, go to the shop, buy yourself an Oculus or whatever, and try it for yourself. That's how I did it. Okay. Thank you very much for your attention, and Vamsi will take over now. afternoon. My name is Joris Putteneers.
Okay, guys. Thank you, Joris, for handing it over to me. I guess we will move forward. So just to give you a brief understanding or idea of what I'm going to talk about is basically we'll loosely touch upon what Joris had previously mentioned. And at the same time, we will also take a look at how we can create spaces and experiential scenarios within VR using the similar kind of tools. So that's something that has been really fascinating me and it's very interesting to me. And just to give you a brief background about myself, I'm an architect by education. And as Fabio mentioned, we recently co-founded Futurely, a globally accessible education platform where we intend to explore with amazing people and collaborate and do design courses and workshops and events together. Some of which that I'm going to show you today is also something that we intend to explore and bring people on board with. So having said that, my engagement with VR, it comes from the past 3 years because I graduated out of my postgrad and I started traveling all over the world, attending VR conferences. I was really obsessed with the platform, and because that in 2017 is when I first got introduced to what VR is, and I really wanted to see the maximum potential of what it could be used for. And in the process, I also use it in our design workflows. And I'm also a strong admirer of many amazing artists, art directors, and designers from across the world. So we will walk through the presentation, having a look at a lot of these people. And just to begin with, I think you've seen a lot of Gravity Sketch in the previous part, but it really is a powerful tool and it has a really simple intuitive interface which collapses most of our subdivision modeling and sculpting tools into just one package. Similarly, another interesting platform is Tilt Brush by Google. And it also has its counterpart, which is Quill by Facebook. So these guys kind of fight with each other. So we'll also see how these two are used, or three are used by many different artists. So to begin with, this is an example of how Whole Nine, an artist, creates the underwater temple using Tilt Brush. So it kind of gives you a glimpse of the kind of aesthetics that it produces. What's really beautiful about this in VR is that you have this sort of a painterly aesthetic or the hand sketch based aesthetic that happens, but in a three-dimensional frame. And what's also more beautiful using something like Tilt Brush is you also can animate most of the things that you do. You can animate a process, you can animate a movement, etc., and then you can loop them. We will also briefly look at how some artists and designers use that as well. So yeah, that's kind of just a glimpse of how it works, basically. And here we have another incredible artist called Vlad. And Vlad is a German artist, and he uses these incredible strokes to produce characters, and he's also an everyday artist, as you can look at the work from here. So Vlad, you can follow his work at the website or on Instagram. And he creates these intricate character details, which are three-dimensional sketches, and it also have some subtle animated elements to them, like light streaks and certain painterly effects, like we've seen before. So having said that, when you bring such objects out of your sculpts or your VR sculpts, this is how they get translated and they get produced in various 3D programs like the ones we use, Max or Blender or ZBrush. This is how it gets exported. and which is also pretty fascinating because you can directly use most of these geometries and work with them. And this is another artist called Su Gwen Chung, who's also pretty fascinating with her work. And she also uses Google Tilt Brush for most of her parts. And she has this thin line of difference where she tries to work between machinic strokes and handmade human strokes. So she fluctuates between those two modes of representation, and she produces some incredible ethereal work like the ones you see here. So as an extension to how design tools are being used, this is also another way where you integrate some bit of animation element in most of your artworks. Like these are like immersive sketches, basically. Then we have Steve Teeple, who's an amazing artist who works with mythical elements and a lot of interesting ancient characters. And he has a lot of variety in terms of the kind of strokes that he produces. And it's slightly different from the previous sculpts that you see. So having said this, it also gave me an idea to work with some of these tools like Gravity Sketch. And I try to use it more as a kit bash medium. As Joris has previously mentioned, there is a lot of sophistication when it comes to kit bashing. And I'm a strong ZBrush user. And yeah, having said that, I think kit bashing becomes like an essential part of your toolkit. And you try to come up with a lot of combinations. And some of these are the compositions that are like snapshots that I've taken from the same. And I also occasionally use it to translate into some motion graphic animations, like the one you see here. For me, what's really interesting is the glitch or the messy aesthetic or the human touch that is really reflected well in VR. It does not necessarily happen so much in the other 3D modeling tools that we use on a day-to-day basis. And that's something that comes really intuitively, and you can just go on a free flow. So coming to the second section, which is talking about experiential space. So when I say experiential, I mean to say a sort of an immersive space all around us, because what you can do amazingly well with VR, which you cannot generally do with other mediums, is while you're doing your design, while you're sculpting your objects, etc., you don't just look at them to what they are like objects, but you can even scale it up and you can live inside of it, or you can just walk around that space. And that way, it also gives you this opportunity to design the environment around the object and not just the object itself, and which is pretty fascinating. I'm sure most of you know this from the Fortnite concert. We had the Travis Scott and Marshmello with more than 12 to 13 million people from around the world. Similarly, what's been happening in the past couple of months or roughly a year is that we also have a lot of VR concerts and VR event spaces that are emerging. And this also gives a huge new canvas for artists and designers to engage with. And that is really fascinating, guys, because one such is Sutu or Stuart Campbell. He is an Australian artist who is one of my personal favorites. And he works with a mixed bag of tools like Quill, Tilt Brush, Blender, and sometimes Unity. And he basically uses most of these sculpting tools. And he also integrates it with game engines and to create experiences. And most of these tools, as we see it, they also have like a direct pipeline to work with the game engines, which is pretty interesting for most of us, because how beautiful is that you can actually translate your sculpt into an interactive piece of art and then start working on top of it. So that's something that he really explores and expanded. And he had previously worked with cinema such as Ready Player One, and recently he did concerts for The Weeknd, The Artist, and John Legend previously. So there's this new platform that is emerging called the Wave XR, and these guys are doing incredible work developing these experiences, the animated experiences in VR, and they make it available to millions of people across the world. So this is just a glimpse of it. And what's also fascinating is this complete thing is accessible by the web. You don't even need to download a tool or a software. Similarly, this is another experience by Sutu. It's called the Hive Mind. And you can clearly see the kind of strokes, the sketchy imperfections that happen by hand. They're all kind of, they become three-dimensionalized, and you can experience that space. And with all this neon lit cyberpunk atmosphere that he creates, it just becomes super immersive, and it just gets translated into a concert space that people can enjoy in VR. And it's all created by one artist, guys. That's probably the most beautiful part of it. I'm just moving forward. And as an extension, as I mentioned about the animation capabilities in VR previously, so you have your regular keyframe based animations that you could key every different object, and you can have it in multiple layers, etc., as seen in this artist Scobot's work. So he basically uses AnimVR, Kingspray Graffiti, and something like Tilt Brush or Quill, and he directly imports it into Unity and then makes it an experience for people to completely gamify, which is pretty fascinating. So with that, moving forward, this is how the interfaces of Quill or Tilt Brush usually work. And it's pretty similar and straightforward to most of the Unreal Engine, the After Effects animation, timeline-based animations that we're all familiar with. And you can create these cinematic experiences within no time by just meddling with your controller in hand. So one on the left is more like a fire animation. The other one is a skateboarder. And this is something most of you might know. It's by the amazing Goro Fujita. And it's a short film made entirely in VR using VR animation techniques. Since it's a really popular one, I did not add so much of snippets. I just have this visual. But just to say that this is one of the most pioneering work, one of the most, which almost became an Emmy nomination just by being done in VR. And it also has, it conveys an amazing story and narrative experience, which is something that is also an added layer in this experiential platform. For example, we had previously seen that we could do different forms of sculpting, different forms of animations and designs. Along with that, you can also have spatial position-based audio, which will make it even more compelling for the listeners or for the people to view it. And pack it all with the element of immersion, you will have subtle details, little bits and pieces that you can go walk towards and experience it as a whole. That is the most fascinating thing. Having shown you some of these references, I also want to show you guys this experience, more like a workflow strategy that we went through. So this one is called Saha. Saha 6122124. Don't ask me about the number. It's got a huge concept behind it. But anyways, so this was something that we just wanted to jump into 3 years ago. And it was an idea by my wife, Madhu. And she had this fascination for an Indian future cyberpunk scenario. And tailored with this is what you see is more like a storyboard of the same. And yeah, we try to add all the technological elements, the glitches, the kind of distortions, the electronic mismatches, and many detailed sci-fi elements packed with rich cultural landscape. So you see so many domes, temple-like structures, and patterns, so many things emerging as a part of the process. So the reason why I bring this up particularly is this was an amazing project where we completely worked on a remote workflow, and we varied between multiple tools, and primarily we used a lot of gravity sketch based kit bashing and then ZBrush and Houdini. So we kind of created a pipeline where we tossed around back and forth, and we used really simple basic primitive elements, and then we tried to come up with multi-layered compositions which came across like this, the way you see here. And what you see is more like a still rendered image at the moment. I will take you through the complete real-time environment that we developed as well. And what was really challenging is when we were storyboarding and when we were working initially, we went all in full blown with a huge polygon, which crosses a lot of millions, maybe 20 to 30 or even more. And we went full blown with the detailing, the surface level ornamentation, etc., and so on and so forth. And then you realize that you want to switch to a real-time pipeline, and then the whole game changes, which is where we had our interesting challenge, because we had this full-blown concept art like posters that we made with complete 3D material. And then we had to go back and work from ground zero again. And this time, I think adopting a gamified workflow or a real-time workflow requires the complete rewiring of your brain in a way, because you tend to work in general with really high poly modeling. And then now we start to roll back the dice a bit and come up with a really low poly strategy and just beef all the details on the textures and alphas, and basically using the PBR. So we kind of took the basic rudimentary elements like the ones you see here, and we tried to kit bash and create lots of compositions. And we did this in Gravity Sketch and designed the multiple compositions. And at the same time, Unreal also gives you a feature to do this in the VR editor, which you'll see in the next slide. So using that, we kind of were like real-time organizing and making compositions. And it was an interesting exercise, making a lot of iterations of world design, as you see here. So this is more of a WIP image. And let me take you to the next slide. So this is the kind of world that we created as a part of the process. And it took us a lot of unlearning, relearning, and rewiring the way we work. And having been an avid enthusiast for these digital imperfections and mismatches, I don't know why my skin is glitching a bit. That was not a part of the transition, guys. But either ways, so the texture stretches are something that we embrace, and we deliberately wanted to have them. And we wanted to go completely neon and come up with a cyberpunk appeal. And as also a part of the process, we remotely collaborated in VR and had discussions, review sessions to develop this project with artists, writers, and musicians. So this is another glimpse of how the VR editor works while in Unreal. And this was the complete PBR environment that we created with all the particle effects and the motion graphics, and even the banners and some of the subtle details that kind of give you the reminiscence of an ancient yet futuristic Indian city. So as you can also see, you can completely alter the space, move around things, and still all while it's happening, while the simulation is playing. And also to add to it, this whole experience was developed on laptops. So I will move forward. With that, this was a snippet, a trailer snippet that we finally created with the strategies that we used. And for our narrative, this was the initial trailer developed, and the work is still in progress, and we hope to complete it and roll out this immersive musical experience for everyone to access. So with that, I want to tell you guys that in a way, there is this huge transition that's been happening from VR being a design tool to creating immersive spaces and to complete wholesome experiences. And it also extends and expands into becoming a full-blown production tool. Like with this sort of editor capabilities in VR, you can literally have your camera paths, cinematic movements, everything set up manually by your hands, and you will almost have, probably in a year or so, you will have a complete full-blown production pipeline that you can experience in your desktops. So that, I think, is the most sophisticated and beautiful part that is emerging, and it's right around the corner for us to tap into. Having said that, I think this is the last section that I'm going to touch upon today, which is how VR is kind of shaping the metaverse. I'm sure most of us know this term with cinema, sci-fi, and Ready Player One, for instance. So basically, we see this sort of a convergence between video games and these social platforms like Facebook starting their own virtual space, massive multiplayer virtual space like the Horizon. And we slowly also see the rise in the scales of maps, the game world design is constantly expanding, and it's compressing a lot of elements and interesting points into one game or one medium. With that increasing expansively day by day, it's not just game designers who get to have all the fun, but also slowly, because of concerts, fashion events, and other industries also moving in and converging onto virtual spaces, there is a lot of room for artists and designers to explore and engage with, especially through VR as a medium. And with that, I also want to say that you had the Photoshop people, which were the thing of the past, and now we have complete avatars that we need to deal with, and even design those avatars in these virtual spaces and come up with full-blown worlds for them. So that's it from us, guys. Thank you.
That was
Now
amazing.
now it's night also at Joris' place.
Hold on, I'm not plugged in. Guys,
Muted.
guys.
Are
Also
we
we're
muted?
Yeah. They can hear us on the stream, but you guys couldn't hear us.
Yeah, I was saying now it's nighttime also at Joris' place.
That was really great. Great presentation. Really, a lot of interesting stuff. It's what's interesting to me as well is the fact that with ArcViz, it's mainly ArcViz work. You're kind of always immersed in like reality, even though what you're creating is not real yet. It's a real thing. Everything you're working on. And to see this kind of stuff for me, that really makes me excited, you know, to see those kind of things, because we're talking about creating worlds and creating new things that don't exist and can only exist in that medium. I find this really fascinating.
Yes, it's true.
Do you agree?
They're not saying anything. They're like, good enough for you, good enough for us.
Super nice to hear that from you guys.
Let me just double check if there are questions.
Yeah, we're
for
gonna
you
have a look if there's any questions. I don't believe there are. I think you guys like made everybody speechless.
Everybody's saying bravo, saying mind blowing. There are some other Indian people watching this, and so they express their pride for the fact that you're from India.
This was amazing. This was amazing. That you guys developed some of this stuff on laptops only. It's really. What kind of laptops are we talking about?
It's like a massive laptop on wheels.
It's a 15-inch MSI. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's
not even heavy as yours. Yours looks more solid, I think.
Okay.
So guys, we're gonna say goodnight to you. We really appreciate you coming on and giving us this really interesting presentation, and for being a part of the D2 this year. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Be my pleasure.
Thank you, guys. Really appreciate it.
Really very happy of the fact that you're so young and talented, and that we can give you a platform to show your work, because I guess that you guys deserve a lot more attention. Vamsi, you were one of the speakers, well, one of the
inspirations,
people that inspired one of the competitions that we've organized, and when I showed your work, people were blown away. I really hope that some people are going to be interested in your work and Joris' work, and will be able to follow you and see how you progress your career as designers.
Yes.
But anyway, I wanna.
There's one question from Aman. He said,
"Let us know the starter kit."
Let us know the starter kit. I don't know. Did I miss that?
What is the starter kit? Are we talking about the sourdough starter? I can give you a fantastic recipe. My bread is amazing.
Now we're taking a whole nother route with this D2 thing. We're D2 cooking shows.
You will see that maybe in October.
Yeah, exactly. So guys, I want to say goodnight. Thanks a lot. And then we're going to say goodbye to everyone after we exit. So thank you very much.
Good night, guys, and thanks a lot for doing this.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Good night. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess, guys, this is everything for today. Don't worry, don't be sad. There is 3 more days of great content that we have prepared for you. But now, before we say goodbye,
we're all going to drink a beer together, the 4 of us at least. So if you've got a beer out there, or a drink, or a glass of water, it's fine. We don't care.
Whatever it is.
Let's all toast.
Bring it on.
The second day. We didn't do this yesterday, so we have to do it. Cheers, 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 Prost.
And by the way, we have all tested negative for COVID, so that's the reason why we're here celebrating like this.
We're living in this room, so we're not going outside. So we're safe. We're isolated. So really, thanks a lot for being here.
Without alcohol?
Thank you all of our sponsors as well for helping us make this possible. And we will be back tomorrow with at 3 o'clock Central European Standard Time again with a mini workshop from Housed, and they have a really interesting system about how they for using for real estate to show off real estate projects. So please join us for that. We look forward to it. And then of course we'll be back again for day 3 at 6 p.m. Central Europe, Central,
just
CEST.
Come tomorrow and we'll be here, okay? It's like 2 hours in front. No, it's 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock London time, right?
Why are you always fixated on London time?
Because everybody knows London.
What about the gin? No, okay, let's just cheers.
It's 2 in the afternoon London time, 3 in the afternoon Schnitzel time.
All right, so you can check it out. The schedule's on the conference website. It's also on the D2 event on Facebook, so you can see when the times are and get the links from YouTube. And yeah, we'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah. Good night, guys.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Bye.
Who's gonna switch it off now?
Yeah, so, we just let it run, yeah.
Yeah, all right.
So anyway.
So I'm gonna take this off because I don't.